In the heart of a bustling city, where the noise of car horns and the chatter of pedestrians coalesced into a chaotic symphony, there lay a quaint antique shop, almost hidden between the towering modern edifices that framed it like a forgotten page from a long-lost storybook. Its weathered sign, swaying lazily in the light breeze, read "A Timeless Experience," but few paused to appreciate its charm, save for the occasional curious soul seeking treasure amidst the detritus of bygone eras. The shopfront was an enticing kaleidoscope of antiquities. Faded postcards pinned to a corkboard, delicate porcelain figurines that seemed to dance without music, and vintage books whose spines, cracked and peeling, whispered secrets of distant times. Through the shop's dusty windows, the sunlight filtered in, casting a soft, golden glow that enveloped the interior like a warm embrace. This was no ordinary shop. Speckled with dust motes, the air inside vibrated with the magic of memories, a sweetly melancholic aroma of aged wood and leather intermingling with the unplaceable scent of time itself. And at the center of this enchanted clutter stood an ornate mirror unlike any other. Its frame was a swirling cacophony of gold and silver filigree, intricately carved with symbols and patterns that whispered 1,000 tales of love, loss, and longing. Its surface was smooth, reflecting not only the physical world, but also an ethereal glow that drew patrons like moths to a flame. They came in hordes, forgetful of the rain-soaked streets outside, entranced by the charm of the place. When a customer stepped before the mirror, the effect was immediate and profound. What they saw was not merely their reflection, but a version of themselves, so vivid, so radiant they could hardly believe their eyes. Women who felt plain became the epitome of elegance, with flowing hair and flawless skin. Men who walked with slumped shoulders transformed into charismatic figures, exuding confidence and charm. Couples gazed at themselves, beaming with the undying love that they yearned for, captured within this celestial glass. However, what this mirror revealed was not an accurate reflection, but a carefully crafted illusion shaped by their deepest desires and unfulfilled aspirations. The truth remained cloaked within the glass, a dark secret that none could perceive except for one solitary figure, Leonard, the shadowy shopkeeper. Leonard was an enigmatic presence, a man of few words and even fewer friends. His face bore the weight of age, framed by tufts of gray hair and deep-set eyes that sparkled with a mixture of mischief and melancholy. He had dedicated his life to collecting the obscure and the extraordinary, each item in his shop a testament to an era long past. But it was the mirror he had created, wrought from a blend of enchantment and alchemy, that held both his triumph and his torment. As he observed the throngs that flocked to his shop, laughter echoing as they admired their idealized selves, a pang of sorrow settled in his heart. While the mirror offered beauty and success, it robbed them of their truth. The glimmering illusions contrasted sharply with the shadows that lingered around Leonard's own reflection, which was devoid of the charm that captivated others. He alone, as the architect of this beautiful deception, bore witness to the stark reality reflected back at him, a man haunted by the choices he'd made and the pride he held close to his heart. On this particular afternoon, the shop was bustling more than usual. A group of lively young women, their laughter shimmering like bubbles in the air, pushed through the door, their excitement infectious. Leonard watched as they gasped, clutching each other's arms in delight, their eyes sparkling like stars as they approached the mirror. "Look," one of them exclaimed, stepping forward to gaze into the glass. As she did, her features morphed into the visage of a sparkling siren, elegant and adorned in lavish jewelry, the glimmer of wealth surrounding her like a radiant aura. The others gasped in astonishment, eager for their turn before the bewitched surface. One by one, they peered into the depth of the mirror, lost in the fantastic world where imagination intertwined with an ethereal reality. each face transformed expertly. They were not the women they had come as, they were magnificent reflections of what could be if only one believed hard enough. Laughter echoed again, vibrant as they swapped stories of dreams and desires. Unaware that each giggle masked a longing rooted deep within, Leonard's heart twisted at the sight, torn between the joy they found and the grim fate that awaited them when the magic faded. Jostled forward by the excitement of her friends, one girl named Clara stepped before the mirror. She was quiet, the kind who preferred to disappear in a crowd, always dressed in muted tones that mirrored her reserved demeanor. But in that moment, as she gazed at her own bewitching reflection, eyes wide with astonishment, Leonard felt a pang of empathy wash over him. Here was a young woman eager for validation, her likeness radiant in the mirror, adorned in a stunning gown that flowed like water around her. In this reflectance of desire, she glowed with the confidence that eluded her in reality. Leonard noticed how her shoulders relaxed, how her breath caught. She believed, if only for a moment, that she could be someone entirely different. He turned away, letting the facade play out, the bittersweet taste of ambition and despair staining his thoughts. Beyond the cracked windows, the city continued to pulse with life, but here in his little haven, time stood still, ensnared by the enchanting allure of dreams that glittered on a silver surface. This was his existence, a calculated creation designed to ensnare others in the web of their fantasies, while he remained condemned to live among the truths they could not bear to face. As the laughter mingled with the dimness of the shop, Leonard couldn't help but wonder, how long could he maintain this charade? The mirror beckoned them, an Eden of fantastic dreams, wrapped in layers of enchanting deceit. Perhaps the better question was, who would dare to look deeper? Shallowness had become elegant, and the truth lay buried beneath layers of wanting, overlooked and unacknowledged. With a heavy heart, Leonard watched as outside, city lights twinkled into being, reflecting off the glass and illuminating shadows dancing on the walls of his shop. Right then and there, he realized, nobody had grasped the ultimate irony. They walked here seeking truth, yet left with lies crafted in beauty, shrouded in the glowing embrace of the mirror that had become both their salvation and their deepest deception. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the cobbled streets, as Clara made her way to the small antique shop. She had often passed by it, its weathered exterior and dusty windows that hinted at treasures unseen. Today, however, a pull urged her to step inside and explore its mysteries. Little did she know, she was about to encounter a force that would change her life forever. As Clara entered, the soft chime of a bell greeted her like a whisper amidst the cacophony of the city. The interior was dimly lit, basked in the glow of antique chandeliers and the soft flicker of candles that danced in the shadows. The walls were adorned with a myriad of items, porcelain figurines, old clocks, and chests bursting with history, but it was the air of the place that captured her attention. A complex bouquet of lavender, old paper, and a faint sweetness that enveloped her senses, beckoning her to linger. The shopkeeper, an elderly man named Mr. Glanville, appeared from behind an intricately carved wooden desk, his silver hair glinting like the treasures he housed. His sharp blue eyes were kind, yet held a glimmer of secrecy. Clara exchanged a polite smile with him, her heart racing with excitement at the prospect of discovery. "Welcome, dear. Feel free to browse. You never know what you might find," he said, his voice a gentle rumble like distant thunder. She wandered through the narrow aisles, her fingers gliding over smooth surfaces and textured fabrics. There was a succumbable warmth in the shop, a feeling of belonging as if each object held a fragment of the past, waiting to share its stories. And then she saw it, the mirror. It stood grandly against the back wall, framed in ornate gold, embellished with intricate designs that twisted and twined like vines. Its surface shimmered, almost invitingly, catching her breath in her throat. Curious, she approached, her heart thumping in her chest as she peered into the reflective glass. What she saw made her catch her breath. It was not her plain self, but a stunning image that radiated with confidence and beauty. She wore an exquisite gown, a flowing maroon fabric that wrapped around her form like a cloud of silk. Her hair cascaded in splendid waves, shining like spun gold, and her skin glowed with an ethereal radiance. The vibrant smile on her lips was infectious, filled with a joy and self-assurance that made her heart beat faster, as if the reflection was breathing life into dreams long buried. Who is that?" Clara whispered, entranced. Every flaw had vanished. The mirror portrayed a glamorous version of herself, one she had always dreamed of being, but had struggled to accept. For the first time, the insecurities that clouded her self-image lifted, leaving only the fascinating allure of possibility. As she stood there, dazzled, Clara didn't notice Mr. Glanville watching from a distance. His expression was unreadable, a blend of wisdom and sorrow, as if he carried knowledge that weighed heavily on his heart. He had seen many people behold the deceptive beauty of this mirror, each swallowed whole by delusions of grandeur. Clara finally stepped away, her heart fluttering like a trapped bird. It was overwhelming how a simple mirror could invoke such desires, illuminating the shadows of who she wanted to be, but feared she could never become. Before she knew it, the corners of the room filled with an array of faces, attracted by her gasp of wonder. They too began to line up in awe before the mirror, captivated by the promise of a more glamorous self reflected back at them. With each passing moment, the shop buzzed with excitement. Laughter echoed, dreams were whispered, and hopes were rekindled. Each person stood in line, waiting to uncover their reflections, a parade of longing that swirled about like soft music, blending into an intoxicating symphony of dreams and desires. Clara could hardly grasp how quickly it all transpired. This mirror had turned an ordinary afternoon into an extraordinary festival of fantasy. But as the air thickened with anticipation and joy, a quiet tension radiated from Mr. Glanville. He stood near the display adorning the mirror, his eyes clouded with a mixture of sadness and resolve. He wasn't offended by their reactions, but rather, he felt a sense of protectiveness over the truth hidden beneath the shimmering surface. "Beware, dear visitors," he finally said, his voice breaking through the merriment like a sudden gust of wind. "What you see here is not a true reflection, but a display of your desire. The beauty you behold is merely a mirage." The newcomers glanced at each other, bemused yet instantly roused by curiosity. Clara's heart sank. The allure that had enchanted her moments before suddenly felt tainted. Was it all a lie? A lively young man scoffed, brushing off the shopkeeper's words. "What does he know? Look at us. We could be so much more," he said, extending his hand towards Clara, inviting her to return to the mirage that had captivated her. The crowd murmured in agreement, fueled by the hopes they had just unveiled. They turned away from Mr. Glanville as if dismissing a bad smell, their hearts ablaze with the possibility that the mirror had ignited. Clara remained anchored, caught between reality and the fantasies swirling before her. As she glanced back at her own reflection, the image became a temptation. The weight of her own normality felt heavier against the beauty of the ambition projected from beneath the glass. Could she transform her reality into the dazzling existence before her? Compelled once more, Clara stepped forward, allowing desperation to cloud even her most rational thoughts. Could this be her salvation? The enticing vision of her glamorous alter ego beckoned her to dive into a world of enchantment and escape, leaving her old self behind. As the crowd thickened, more patrons joined the fervor, and Mr. Glanville was left in the shadows, a silent witness to the unfolding chaos. The mirror with its deceptive power had ensnared Clara and many more who dared to dream. From that day forward, the antique shop became a hub of fantasy seekers, each drawn by the enchanting allure of the mirror. The shop thrummed with life, laughter, and the persistent hum of hope. Clara, along with others, was entranced by the image the mirror cast upon the world, a world that glimmered with possibilities and left people yearning for reflections that never truly existed. Little did they know that while they sought out their desires, the truth beneath Mr. Glanville's guarded expression held a far darker tale yet to be explored. A crisp autumn breeze swept through the bustling streets, and the air was filled with the scent of roasted chestnuts and fading leaves. It had only been a week since Clara's first encounter with the magical mirror, yet word of its transformative power spread like wildfire. One by one, locals began to share their experiences, each tale wrapped in excitement, disbelief, and most importantly, hope. By noon, the antique shop that had once stood lonely and often overlooked was now adorned with a snake of eager souls awaiting their turn. People of all ages, backgrounds, and walks of life layered themselves, chattering energetically as they envisioned the images waiting for them behind that aged glass. At the head of the queue stood a young woman named Eliza, with wild curls framing her face and a spark of anticipation in her bright green eyes. She stepped forward, clutching a small notebook filled with scribbled dreams and sketches of who she wished to be. Perhaps today would finally bring her the clarity she longed for. The image of a confident artist, her works displayed in prestigious galleries, the envy of peers who often dismissed her passion as a mere hobby. "What do you think you'll see?" her friend Jenna whispered, squeezing her hand tightly. "A genius, wild and free," Eliza replied, her voice a mixture of excitement and nervousness. "I'll be the version of me I always knew existed." As the minutes turned into hours, and the sun cast longer shadows on the cobblestone streets, the queue morphed into a tapestry of stories, aspirations, and dreams. There was Malcolm, an accountant more comfortable with numbers than people, who envisioned himself leading a team of tech innovators. Next to him, a retired teacher named Mr. Barrows stood rigidly, lost in thoughts of a grand adventure, where he was a courageous explorer charting unknown lands. In the middle of the line, a teenager named Leo absorbed the energy of those around him as he fantasized about being a talented musician, captivating audiences at sold-out concerts, every note resonating with a lyrical beauty. More than anything, he was eager to be seen as someone who mattered in a world often indifferent to the struggles of youth. There was a certain electricity in the air, a collective yearning that resonated through the queue, making the heart race. The shopkeeper, an unassuming man with silver-rimmed glasses and a mop of unruly hair, stood behind the glass counter, glancing out at the line of hopeful faces. With each passing reflection presented to coughing spectators, he felt a mix of pride and piercing sorrow. It struck him how easily they embraced the versions of themselves reflected back at them, each mirror fueled by desires woven from dreams, beautiful, compelling shadows of their true selves. Yet he alone knew of the distinction between desire and reality. He alone understood that the reflections they saw would not guide them toward their actual dreams, but deepen their disillusionment, creating a chasm between aspiration and reality. A cacophony of gasps erupted as the first customer in line stepped in front of the mirror. Clara had left a profound impact. Eliza had been the perfect introduction to what lay ahead. The thrill that followed each beautiful reflection, showcased by the magical glass, promising a world overflowing with possibilities. With careful precision, the shopkeeper prepared for the next visitor. He adjusted his eyeglasses, absent-mindedly wiping his hands on a faded apron as he inhaled deeply, steeling himself for the crescendo of emotions he had come to dread. One after the other, customers entered. The mirror gleamed a beautiful warmth, displaying ideal images, a vivacious entrepreneur, an acclaimed novelist, or a world-renowned chef, painted in the brilliant strokes of an artist's brush. Eliza clutched her notebook nervously as she watched the faces of those coming out, transformed, glowing with newfound confidence, as if they had just been bestowed with the wings to fly. Some cried tears of joy, others smiled wide, while many rushed to their friends in excitement to share in the joy of self-discovery. But with each security-drenched smile, the shopkeeper's heart sank deeper into despair. How could they believe these illusions? In their reflection, they saw the person they wanted to be, yet all he could see was their anguish hidden beneath layers of dreams that would never become reality. As the queue dwindled to one, Eliza finally took her turn. With a deep breath, she stepped past the threshold, feeling the rush of anticipation flood her veins. She could almost taste the courage, the success. Her mind painted a colorful picture as she stepped toward the mirror. Outside, those waiting were captivated as they peered in through the dusty window. Through the glass, Eliza's expression shifted, first awe, then something bordering on devastation, something he had come to recognize all too well. Just like Clara before her, she was met with a high-gloss illusion of her most flamboyant fantasies, and behind her stood the real, unfiltered reflection. A wave of realization washed over Eliza. In the reflection, the world faded, leaving only her ethereal visage standing proudly, and yet the corners of her mouth betrayed her with a palpable sadness. The shopkeeper's heart plummeted. He wished he could rush in and scream the truth that beauty and success came from within, and not from the flimsy facade of a painted mirror. As Eliza stepped away, her expressions were bittersweet. She was both the dreamer and the lost soul. Her unfulfilled thirst for recognition sang like a siren in her eyes. Outside, others gasped, eyes wide with anticipation, unaware that what lay within this enchanted mirror was not a reflection of reality, but an illusion woven with beautiful lies, feeding their desires and shaping their lives away from the profound truth of authenticity. But like grains of sand trickling down an hourglass, they stood oblivious to the fleeting moments and emptiness that awaited. And the shopkeeper continued to stand guard over his invention, a reluctant bearer of a facade wrought from human denial, one that preserved hope, yet shattered souls in the process. Eliza left the shop, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears as the weight of her unachieved self crushed her spirit. Behind the queue of faces, she blended into the crowd, lost between desire and the reality of herself, even as the shopkeeper silently mourned for them all. The growing line attracted more seekers, but with each passing face, he could only imagine the shattering truth that lay behind their hopeful gleams, a truth that remained locked away in his heart. The damp autumn air settled over the city, enveloping it in a chilly embrace as leaves stirred into a swirling dance. Downtown, the bustling crowd began to thin as people scurried home, eager to escape the encroaching cold. Amidst this winding down of the day, the antique shop with its rickety wooden sign swaying slightly in the breeze stood solemnly against the backdrop of glittering storefronts. Inside, the faint scent of aged wood and time-worn leather mingled with something elusive, hinting at mysteries waiting to be discovered. Mike Hastings adjusted his collar, the slight breeze ruffling his hair if he approached the shop's entrance. A seasoned journalist, he had spent over a decade chasing truths and uncovering lies pulsating within the city's core. Whispers of the mirror had reached him, an enchanted relic, claiming to unveil faces people wished they could embody, rather than the identities they truly held. Skepticism laced his hazel eyes. Tales like these often masked gimmicks and delusions, crafted to lure unsuspecting customers. Yet a nagging curiosity propelled him, taking a step closer through the ancient wooden door that creaked open with a sound reminiscent of forgotten secrets. The interior was dimly lit, shadows playing amongst towering shelves, filled with relics from long-lost eras, a tapestry of history woven through oddities. As the door closed behind him, it echoed softly through the tranquil shop. Clara, with her wide smile and twinkling eyes, was not present this time. Instead, the shopkeeper stood behind the counter, his glasses perched low on the bridge of his nose as he meticulously dusted a glass figurine. "Ah, welcome," the shopkeeper exclaimed, turning his gaze towards Mike. his eyes gleaming with a knowing curiosity. "What brings you here?" "Many come seeking their true selves." Mike raised an eyebrow, the corner of his mouth quirked. "I'm here to see this so-called mirror that reveals true identities," he replied, his tone laced with skepticism, yet maintaining politeness. The shopkeeper smiled knowingly, as if the mirror held more than mere glass and frame. "Follow me," he beckoned, leading Mike through the labyrinth of trinkets and curiosities, each one holding stories waiting to be heard. They reached the back of the shop, where the legendary mirror stood. A majestic, full-length piece, framed in delicate silver filigree, twisting up into intricate patterns, as if trying to escape the confines of its glass prison. Glittering gems adorned the frame, catching the dim light and sparkling as brilliantly as the dreams of those who dared to meet its depths. "Are you ready?" the shopkeeper asked, mischief twinkling in his eyes, but tempered by a deep solemnity that seemed to transcend time. Mike nodded, confidence firmly masking the whisper of doubt. He approached the mirror, stepping into its twilight glow as he cautiously examined his own reflection. The moment his gaze landed upon the glass, it was as if a mysterious energy pulsed through the air, wrapping around him, welcoming him into a world of enchantment. Slowly, an image began to reveal itself, a tall figure, poised and confident, with styled hair and an aura of success that radiated charisma. A broad smile lit up the version of himself, eyes glimmering with confidence and an intimidating charm that drew people in effortlessly. Mike was taken aback. This was the person he aspired to be, the embodiment of success, a man commanding attention in the bustling newsroom, leading the charge in powerful storytelling. Yet, disappointment began to anchor itself in his stomach, as skepticism worked its way in. "Is this really who I am?" he questioned softly, barely above a whisper, brow furrowed in contemplation. The reflection offered only unfaltering success and victory. It stared back, a facade constructed from his longings and dreams. The reality of the shop clung to him like damp clothing. He felt as though he were gazing at an imposter, a distorted vision of ambition light years away. His heart raced, each beat urging him to seek the truth amidst this glittering deception. The image held him captive, feeding a yearning he struggled to grasp. He sensed the weight of many souls before him, whose lives had been painted in strokes of false brightness. What of the joy that resonated from those reflections? Were they truly happy? Did their desires justify the disconnect between the illusion and the reality awaiting them outside this enchanting embrace? Taking a step back, he broke his gaze from the hypnotic allure of the mirror, hoping distance would shed the deceptive veil that clung to him. "What is this illusion?" he exclaimed suddenly, turning to the shopkeeper, urgency coloring his voice. "Are you oblivious to the lies your mirror tells?" The shopkeeper maintained a gentle smile, eyes softening with understanding. "The mirror reflects not who people are, but who they wish to be," he said, his tone soothing. "It shows them their innermost desires, leaving them delighted by the possibilities. In this chaotic world, who doesn't want to escape into a life painted in golden hues?" The words struck Mike like a blow. Here lay the crux. It unveiled comfort-driven lies, layering the dreams of many who ventured through that door. "But what about the pain?" he asked, his voice now a whisper, heavy with truth. "What happens when they leave? What do they feel?" "They feel." The shopkeeper's voice resonated, a sorrow nestled within. "But many prefer their reflections, choosing to live in those brilliant moments where joy wraps around them like a warm embrace." Mike's thoughts became tumultuous. A storm of questions and disbelief loomed within, tinged with understanding. The chase for glory or success often brushed aside tenderness and vulnerability, elements that made one human. Desired reflections spoke volumes, but often came at the cost of confronting one's trauma and truth. "I need to know," Mike finally declared, his voice steadying, resolve ignited deep within. "I need to expose this, help people understand what they are truly seeing." For the first time, he turned from the mirror, the confrontation of his own dreams, guiding him away from its beguiling reach. "Are you not afraid?" the shopkeeper asked, curiosity anchoring his gaze. "Fear can tie you to your reflection, diverting you from the truth." Realization washed over Mike, clarity interweaving with determination's thrum within his chest. "I am frightened, yes, but this fear pushes me to uncover what lies beneath the surface." He felt a renewed sense of purpose rising within, a spark of understanding. A flicker of acknowledgement brightened the shopkeeper's eyes. "Then perhaps you shall come to find your own reflection, real or otherwise." With that, Mike stepped out from under the shadow of the mirror, a visionary reborn, a seeker of truth amidst captivating illusions. Closing the door behind him, the cool autumn air kissed his cheeks, echoing with the resonating hearts of dreamers lost in fables. A reminder that reality often held far more poignant narratives than the reflections we choose to cast. Outside, the city loomed vast and untamed, a universe of stories awaiting the touch of a pen. Raw and unburdened by the shards of reality, yet echoing faintly within the depths of his mind, he heard the lingering whispers of the mirror's confounding allure, teasing the threads of curiosity that wove through the fabric of his thoughts, hinting that perhaps, first and foremost, the pursuit of one's true self was a labyrinthine journey, fraught with the paradox of mirrored lies. As Wednesday dawned with an uncharacteristically brilliant sun, illuminating droplets of dew hanging like jewels on the vibrant autumn leaves, a gnawing discomfort settled in the heart of the antique shop. The atmosphere felt heavy, pregnant with secrets yet to be unveiled. The morning rush had brought a swell of customers to the shop that day, their corners of the mouths turned upwards in unseeing smiles, enamored by the deceptive charm of the magical mirror. Clara stood outside, her heart pounding as she watched the stream of eager faces entering the quaint antique shop. The enchanted mirror's allure had spread through the city like wildfire over the past few days, prompting a curious throng that seemed to pulsate with longing. For many, this newfound enchantment was a wondrous escape from the mundane confines of reality. For others, it slowly began to morph into an obsession. Inside, laughter echoed like a melody beneath the glass ceiling, painted in rich hues of amber and gold. People emerged one by one before the mirror, their expressions flickering from anticipation to sheer delight, revealing their idealized selves with an uncanny vehemence. Jenna, the barista from the corner cafe, stood before the mirror, her dark curls framing her face as she gazed in awe at the radiant version of herself smiling back. The reflection showed her clad in an elegant ball gown, shimmering tiara perched atop her hair, the quintessential image of beauty and poise. "I can't believe it," she whispered, brushing away a tear that glistened in her eye. As she stepped away with a flutter of her heart, Mike, a longtime friend, stepped up, biting down on his apprehension. He had watched Clara's own transformation, the way the mirror breathed life into her dull expectations, shaping her into the embodiment of confidence. But now, as he faced the mirror, he felt more like an imposter in his skin, his heart knotting tighter with each second spent under its ethereal gaze. With bated breath, Mike gazed into the glass. The reflection that met his eyes was nothing short of spectacular. A man strong, handsome, dressed in a tailored suit that screamed success. A glimmer of encouragement flickered in his chest, but just as quickly it dissolved into a weight of skepticism. Amidst the jubilant momentum that seemed to rise with each reflection that bore witness to their fantasies, the shopkeeper, Mr. Elwood, observed all from a shadowy corner of the shop. Alone and burdened, his heart felt like a stone that threatened to weigh him down to the floor. The sparkle of joy radiating from his customers tore at the fibers of his conscience, an ache of guilt that would not relent. Each smile they bore dug a little deeper, and the once jubilant atmosphere transformed into a haunting melody whose echoes were laced with despair. It was true that many had returned time and again, clinging fiercely to the fantasies conjured within the mirror. But what had it cost them? He could not bear to watch as week by week they believed more fervently in the fabrications that adorned their reflections. In their obsession to reshape their identities, they began to distort the very essence of who they were, a soft, reasonable person morphing into something far removed from their true selves. The memories clawed at him, replaying the first time Clara had stepped into the shop, her eyes dancing with curiosity, an unfettered spirit chasing after a dream. However, he watched her now flickering between reflections, losing that same spark he'd seen in the first few days when she looked into the mirror with trepidation and hope. Now, it had become an empty pursuit. The moment weighed heavily on him as another customer emerged, lost in their newfound persona, while he remained shackled in a prison of truth. The mirror had captured dreams, but shattered the foundations of reality. What was once a charming trinket of solace now felt like a sinister weapon, constructed by his own hands. "Mr. Elwood, you have to see this." Jenna's laugh echoed in the air as she brought others to share in her reflected delight, unaware of the trail of strained relationships she left in her wake. And with each glowing reflection, the real Jenna grew further away from those fragile roots that once defined her. It was with a sense of desperation that Mr. Elwood caught Mike's eye, silently urging him to step closer. He knew Mike was beginning to question the mirrored gift, and perhaps he would be the one who could bear the truth. But for now, in this crowded room of beautiful facades, he was just a forgotten ghost. Finally, the echo of footsteps signaled the end of the day, and the last few visitors trickled out, satisfied yet guarded. It was then that Mike resolved to confront the pain obscured behind Mr. Elwood's quiet demeanor. "Can I ask you something?" Mike approached the shopkeeper, whose face bore a mournful expression, the shadows of weight pressing on his brow. "Of course, Mike. What's troubling you?" Mr. Elwood's voice trembled slightly, as though bracing himself for the inevitable. "Is it all a lie? What they see in that mirror, is it even real?" A sense of relief flickered across Mr. Elwood's face like a candle's flame, but it was quickly extinguished by a rush of sorrow. "That mirror shows only what one wishes to see, not who they are or who they should strive to be. That truth, it is powerful and painful." The honesty struck Mike, bearing wounds he never knew existed within the hearts of the customers he previously envied. "Then why let them continue?" "Because they are happier in their lies," Mr. Elwood confessed, tears pooling in his eyes, reflections of anguish cascading down his cheeks. "But I cannot bear to watch them lose themselves more with each passing day." In that moment, the weight of the shop seemed to multiply, and the world outside faded into a distant rumble, stitched together in colors of dreams and grief. Everything felt impossibly tethered to the mirror's spell, and as Mike allowed the gravity of Mr. Elwood's words to sink into his consciousness, he understood that the shopkeeper had become a reluctant keeper of truths too painful to bear. The weight of ageless secrets rested heavy on their shoulders, while faces danced in the reflections of what could have been. As the starlit evening began to fall over the city, illuminating skies of velvet hues, uncertainty lingered in the air, creating an essence thick with possibility. Yet within the antique shop, the mirror continued to hum its enchanting song, coaxing others into the endless spiral of illusions, and the pain of unspoken truths would continue to blossom unabated. The dim light of the antique shop cast long shadows, the air thick with an almost palpable tension. The quaint space, usually filled with the soft hum of curiosity and whispers of nostalgia, felt different now. Clara stood beside the fractured mirror, her heart pounding, as Mike confronted the shopkeeper, a complex mix of emotions swirling within her. The mirror loomed ominously, a stark reminder of the lies it had perpetuated. Shattered shards of glass littered the floor, each piece reflecting distorted images of beauty and success that had led so many astray. Mike, the once cocky and overconfident man, now stood at the precipice of self-realization, his face a canvas of regret and longing. "Why did you do it?" Mike's voice cracked, betraying the weight of his words. "Why create something that shows people false images?" The shopkeeper, an enigmatic figure with silver hair that shimmered like the glass around him, looked at Mike with sorrow in his eyes. "Because, Mike," he began, his tone low and contemplative, "I wanted to give people what I never had, a glimpse of hope. The world is cruel, and sometimes the only way to survive is through illusions. But I see the truth, my friend, and the truth is far more painful." Clara watched the two men, her heart aching for both. In that moment, she understood that the shopkeeper wasn't a villain. He was a dreamer, lost in his own fantasies of redemption. However well-intentioned, his mirror had become a vessel of despair. It showed not who people really were, but who they desperately wished to be. "I thought I could be better," Mike admitted, his voice laced with regret. "I thought it was my way out, my chance at a life I believed I deserved. I see it now. I am nothing but a reflection of all my insecurities." The air grew thick with silence as the two men faced the shattered mirror together. Clara stepped closer, feeling an unseen force draw her towards the broken glass. She could hear the faint echoes of laughter and the sound of applause that had once reverberated through the shop, turning the joy into mocking ghosts. "Let's destroy it," Mike declared suddenly, his hands trembling as he reached for a shard of glass. "Right here, right now. We have to end this." The shopkeeper hesitated for just a moment, his wariness battling against the desire to liberate himself from the burden he had unknowingly crafted. "It's not just a mirror to destroy, Mike. It's years of hope, years of dreams. Dreams built on lies," Mike shouted, his voice breaking the stillness. "We can't allow it to continue to take away our truths." With those words echoing around them, something shifted in the room. The light dimmed further, enveloping them in a cloak of darkness, accentuated only by the simmering glow emanating from the mirror's surface. Clara reached for Mike's hand, squeezing it tightly. Together, they stood in solidarity against the embodiment of falsehood before them. "Then let's make a new reflection," Clara whispered, surprising even herself with the conviction in her voice. "One that isn't afraid of who we are. Let's take back our truths, together." The shopkeeper looked between them, the reality of their solidarity dawning upon him. "Our truths. You're right. The mirror reflected our deepest desires, but it stole our authenticity. We can't fix it, but we can end it. We can break free." In that moment of unison, they all drew closer, each man and Clara enveloping the shattered mirror in their resolve. The air crackled, aware of the magic that pulsed through the room. Mike gripped a sizable shard, his voice steady as he spoke. "One last time. Let's smash through this dream and wake up." Together, they thrust the shard into the heart of the mirror. The glass shattered, bursting into a burst of sparks and colors like fireworks exploding on a dark night. Each shard, each fraction of a reflection, dissipated into the air like a puff of smoke, releasing the hollow echoes of laughter and applause they had once trapped. As the last remnant of the mirror's enchantment shattered, a weight lifted from the room. The air grew lighter, infused with the sweet scent of acceptance. The shopkeeper's eyes glimmered with unshed tears, understanding finally dawning on him. What had once brought pain also held the opportunity for healing. Mike turned towards the shopkeeper, vulnerability etched onto his face. "I'm sorry for everything. I got lost in your magic, but I see now that magic isn't what makes us whole. It's embracing who we really are." The shopkeeper nodded slowly, a gentle smile revealing the truth in his heart. "And sometimes it takes confronting the veil of our illusions to come alive." As the last shards of the mirror settled into place, Clara felt an unexpected warmth unfold around her. With the remnants of deceit gone, she sensed a new energy swirling in the air, a hope woven through acceptance and authenticity. For the first time, they stood before the empty space where the mirror had once been, reflecting who they truly were, cracked but beautiful, flawed yet fiercely alive. No longer ensnared by the shackles of desire, they took each other's hands, an unbreakable bond forged in understanding. Amid the dimming light of the shop, the atmosphere shifted from despair to hope, from lies to acceptance. The dim shop felt alive again, as they began to ride the waves of self-acceptance, their laughter breaking through the shadows. An anthem of liberation echoing through the antiques that surrounded them. They didn't need a mirror to tell them who they were. They had finally found the beauty in their true selves.